the cold steel of the gun pressed against my temple like a lover's goodbye kiss gone wrong. And in that split-second eternity, Emily's face swam into view, my own flesh and blood. Her eyes glittering with the kind of triumph that only comes from twisting the knife after the kill. "You always were too trusting, Kenzie," she whispered, her breath hot and minty from the gum she chewed to mask the bourbon on it. Right before the trigger squeezed and the world exploded into a symphony of red-hot agony and fading screams. But death. Death was supposed to be the credits rolling on a shitty indie flick. Instead, it yanked me backward, through time like a bad acid trip, dumping me ass first into the body of 25-year-old me, heart pounding in a chest that hadn't yet been riddled with regret and buckshot. I bolted upright in my queen-sized bed in that cramped one-bedroom apartment in downtown Austin. The kind of place where the AC rattles like it's auditioning for a horror movie and the walls are thin enough to hear your neighbor's existential crises. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. 7:14 a.m. July 15th, 2021. For goddamn years ago. The date hit me like a sucker punch to the gut. I was back. Before the endless nights crunching numbers at that soul-sucking accounting firm. Before I funneled every spare dime into Emily's McMansion in the burbs because family sticks together. Right? Sis. Before she sold me out to those loan sharks, she'd been juggling like flaming pins in a circus of her own making. I laughed then. A raw, barking sound that echoed off the peeling paint, because the universe had handed me a do-over loaded with vengeance ammo. Emily thought she'd buried her mistakes under my corpse? Nah. This time, I'd dig 'em up and shove 'em down her throat. That first morning, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, same mousy brown hair tied in a no-bullshit ponytail. Same hazel eyes that used to trust too easy, now sharpened like switchblades. I was Mackenzie Hayes, the reliable one, the fixer-upper sister who dropped out of her MBA dreams to play White Knight after Dad's heart attack left us both adrift. Emily, 2 years older and worlds prettier with her honey blonde waves and that megawatt smile that could charm a nun out of her habit, had always been the star. Mom and Dad doted. Neighbors cooed. And I was the shadow. The straight-A grindstone who made sure the lights stayed on. When Dad croaked in 18, leaving us his beat-up Ford and a mountain of medical bills, Emily spiraled, divorced from that limp-dick husband of hers. Custody battles over little Sophie. Her 5-year-old terror with pigtails and a penchant for glitter glue. I can't do this alone. Kenzie, she'd sobbed into my shoulder at the funeral. Mascara rivers down her cheeks. You're all I have. Lies. All of it. Pretty little packages wrapped in sisterly love. In my first life, or whatever the hell you call the clusterfuck that ended with me floating face down in Lady Bird Lake, courtesy of Emily's friends with the ink and the attitudes, I'd uncovered the rot too late. She'd been skimming from Dad's life insurance, funneling it into designer bags and coke-fueled weekends with Chad, her sleazy boss at the real estate firm. When the debts piled up, she pinned it on me, forged my signature on loans, made it look like I'd been the one cooking the books at work. The feds were closing in, but Emily, she got ahead of it. A tip-off to the sharks. Kenzie's the one with the cash, she'll pay up. They came for me in that parking garage after my shift. Ski masks and silenced fury. Emily watched from her BMW across the street, sipping a latte like it was just another Tuesday. And when the shots rang out, she drove away, leaving me to bleed out under the sodium lights, whispering prayers to a god who'd clearly clocked out early. But now I had the script. I knew every line, every betrayal beat. As I chugged black coffee from a mug that said, "World's okay, sister," a gag gift from Emily, The irony thicker than Texas humidity. I mapped it out on a yellow legal pad. Step 1. Play the part. Keep paying the mortgage $2,800 a month. Like clockwork, because pulling the rug now would tip her off. Step 2. Dig. Emily's secrets weren't buried deep. They were just dressed up in Lululemon and passive-aggressive texts. Step 3. Burn it down. Slow. Methodical. The kind of revenge that leaves scars you can't Botox away. By noon, I was suited up in my pencil skirt and sensible flats, striding into Deloitte like I owned the joint. Morning. Mackenzie, my boss, Gary, grunted from his corner office, not looking up from his Bloomberg terminal. Heard Emily's house is finally off the market. Congrats on the family assist. I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes. Yeah, Gary. Family first. The drive to Emily's that evening was a blur of I-35 traffic and classic rock on the radio, Springsteen wailing about ghosts in the highway. Fitting as fuck. Her place was in Round Rock, one of those cookie-cutter colonials with the fake shutters and the HOA that find you for untrimmed azaleas. Sophie answered the door in her unicorn pajamas, all gap-toothed grin and sticky fingers from whatever arts and crafts disaster she'd wrought. Auntie Kenzie, Mommy said you're bringing pizza again. I ruffled her hair, the one pure thing in this mess, and stepped inside. The air smelled like vanilla candles and desperation masked as domestic bliss. Emily breezed in from the kitchen, apron tied over her yoga pants, phone glued to her hand as always. Kenzie, you're a lifesaver. Sophie's been a holy terror today, teething or some shit. She air-kissed my cheek, her perfume cloying. Chanel no. 5 screaming, I'm better than you. We ate on the back patio. Fairy lights twinkling like false promises. Sophie chattering about kindergarten drama while Emily scrolled Instagram, liking pics of influencers in Maldives getaways she'd never afford without my blood money. So, work treating you okay? She asked, not really caring, eyes flicking to her feed. Same old grind, I said, folding a slice of pepperoni in half, watching grease drip like accusations. But hey, your mortgage payment cleared this morning. No bounce checks on my watch. She waved it off, laughing that tinkling laugh that always made men melt. God, what would I do without you? You're like my personal superhero. Or, you know, my loser sidekick. She said it light, teasing, but I caught the edge. The way her friends at those wine nights would echo it later. Loser. The word that haunted my dying thoughts. That night, back in my apartment, I cracked open my laptop and started the hunt. Emily's email was child's play. I'd set up the family shared account years ago. Password Sophie*88 because sentimentality is a bitch. Inboxes bloated with urgent, payment overdue from credit cards maxed at $15,000. Receipts for spa days in Dallas. And, bingo, a thread with Chad. Baby. The deposit hit. Kenzie's none the wiser. Meet me at the Driscoll Friday. My stomach twisted, but not from shock. I knew this dance. What I didn't expect was the attachment, a scanned loan doc. My signature scrawled in Emily's loopy cursive. Dated last month. She'd started early this time around. Sloppy. Or maybe she thought I was too buried in spreadsheets to notice. By week's end, I'd mirrored her phone. Nothing fancy. Just a rat app from a shady forum. The kind of digital sleight of hand that'd get me disbarred if anyone cared to look. Texts poured in, Chad promising promotions she didn't earn. Sophie asking for Uncle Chad's sleepovers that twisted my gut. And the calls, voicemails from collectors. Emily's voice syrupy. Tell Kenzie it's her mess. She'll handle it. I paced my living room. The Austin skyline mocking me through the blinds. All glass towers and false streams. This wasn't just greed. It was a blueprint for murder. In the first go-round, those docks led straight to the sharks. And me to the lake bottom. Emily hadn't pulled the trigger, but she'd loaded the gun, oiled it, and handed it over with a smile. Sunday brunch at Kirby Lane was our ritual, bluebonnet pancakes and bottomless mimosas. Emily in sundress glory. Me nursing a Bloody Mary to keep my hands from shaking. You look tense. Sis, she said, spearing a strawberry. Everything good? I met her gaze. Those blue eyes so like Mom's. And lied through my teeth. Peachy. Just thinking about Dad. How he'd be proud of us. You know, holding it together. She softened, reached across the Formica table. He would. You're the rock. Kenzie. Always have been. Bullshit. But I squeezed her hand, feeling the pulse of the woman who'd trade me for a Birkin bag. As we hugged goodbye in the parking lot, her Prius purring like a contented cat, I whispered into her hair, "Love you, Eminencia." She echoed it back, oblivious. Phase 1, trust intact. Phase 2, dismantle. The next months blurred into a grind of dual lives. By day, the dutiful sister wiring funds from my checking to hers, logging every penny in a shadow spreadsheet that grew fatter than Emily's lies. I'd show up with groceries, fold Sophie's laundry while Emily worked late, listening to her vent about Chad's wandering eye or the PDA bitches who side-eyed her single mom status. They're jealous. That's all, she'd say, popping a Xanax like candy. Unlike you. Miss Independent, no drama. No man. I'd nod, biting my tongue bloody, because calling her out now would shatter the illusion. Instead, I fed the beast. $10,000 for Sophie's ballet camp. $5,000 to fix her leaky roof that was really a down payment on Chad's boat. Each transfer was a thread in the noose I was weaving. Documented. Time-stamped. Ready to snap. But revenge isn't a straight shot. It's a Texas two-step. Full of missteps and near misses. One night, scrolling her mirrored texts, I hit paydirt, a voice memo from Chad. The auditors are sniffing around the firm. That side deal on the Oak Hill properties? If it traces back, my blood ran cold. Oak Hill, the development Dad had sunk his savings into before he died. The one Emily swore was clean. Turns out, she'd been laundering bribes through it, using my gifts to grease palms. The secret wasn't just her debts. It was a felony web that snared city councilmen, developers, and enough kickbacks to buy a small country. And me, in the first timeline, I'd been the fall guy. My forged docs making it look like I'd greenlit the fraud. That's why the feds never came for her. They found my confession in a safe deposit box. Planted neat as you please. I slammed the laptop shut, heart hammering like a jackrabbit on meth. This wasn't personal anymore. It was a goddamn empire of deceit, built on Dad's grave and my blind loyalty. Sleep evaded me that night, replaced by visions of Emily in orange, Sophie in foster care, Chad rotting in a cell with Bubba as his new prom date. But doubt crept in like humidity after a storm. Was I any better? Hacking her life? Playing God with her ruin? Nah. She started this fire. I was just the wind fanning a higher. Fall hit Austin like a hangover, leaves turning gold, festivals cranking up the weird, and Emily's birthday bash looming like a guillotine. She turned 32 in a whirlwind of Pinterest perfection, backyard luau at her place, tiki torches and mai tais, guests from her yoga cult and real estate sharks. I RSVP'd with a gift-wrapped bottle of Patron, my smile a weapon honed sharp. Can't wait, I texted, adding a heart emoji that felt like acid on my thumbs. The plan crystallized in the shower that morning, steam fogging the glass as I scrubbed away the ghost of my old self. I'd go, play the doting sister, eavesdrop on her wine-fueled confessions, and when the moment ripened, say, during her inevitable toast to the family that sticks, I'd drop the mic. Not with screams or slaps, with proof. Screenshots on my phone, projected via AirPlay to her smart TV if I had to, every lie laid bare in high-def glory. But life, that sadistic bitch, had other ideas. 2 days before the party, Sophie spiked a fever, 102, listless, her little body limp against my chest as Emily sobbed in the ER waiting room at St. David's. It's the flu, right? Tell me it's just the flu, she begged, clutching my arm like a lifeline. I held it together, stroking Sophie's curls, murmuring nonsense about ice cream rewards when she woke. Hours later, diagnosis, viral, manageable. But the scare cracked Emily open. In the dim hospital light, she spilled not everything, but enough. Chad's pressuring me. Kenzie. The deal's at work. They're not clean. If it blows, we lose everything. The house. Sophie. Her voice broke, and for a heartbeat, I saw the girl she'd been. The one who'd shared secrets under the covers during thunderstorms. Pity surged, hot and unwelcome. Was this the twist? Forgive and forget. Let karma handle it? Fuck that. By dawn, with Sophie tucked in her crib and Emily crashed on the couch, I slipped into her home office. The desktop hummed to life under my fingers, password daddy-esque girl, because some wounds never scab. Folders upon folders, confidential_okill, bursting with emails to counsel hacks, wire transfers to offshore accounts, and, Jesus, the original loan forgeries, dated back to Dad's death. She'd killed the deal he loved, buried it under her greed, and when his heart gave out from the stress, she'd cashed the insurance check the next day. My hands shook as I copied it all to a thumb drive, the evidence a digital guillotine blade. This wasn't sisterly betrayal, it was matricide by proxy. A lifetime of me first that ended with my blood on her hands. The party night arrived sticky sweet, air thick with grilled pineapple and gin breaths. Guests milled like cattle, yoga moms in flowy kaftans, Chad in his polo shirt armor, slapping backs with the mayor's aide. Emily was radiant, lay around her neck, laughing as she poured shots. To another year of adulting like pros, she toasted, clinking glasses with her clique, the same harpies who'd cackle loser behind my back in the old timeline. I hovered on the edges, nursing a seltzer, waiting for the lull. Sophie, fever-free and sugared up, tugged at my skirt. Auntie, dance with me. I twirled her under the string lights, the motion a brief reprieve, until Emily sidled up, flushed and loose-lipped. You're the best, Kenzie. Seriously. Without you, I'd be nothing. The opening. I pulled her aside to the kitchen, away from the luau din, my phone warm in my pocket like a live grenade. We need to talk. About Oak Hill. About Dad. Her face shuddered, smile cracking like cheap porcelain. What? That's ancient history. I held up the drive, glinting under the fluorescence. Not anymore. I know everything, the bribes, the forgeries, how you set me up to take the fall. Twice. Her eyes widened, darting to the door like a trapped animal. Kenzie,
You don't understand.
it was for Sophie. For us.
Us.
The word hung.
Poisoned.
Before she could spin, Chad lumbered in, reeking of scotch. Everything good, ladies. Emily lunged for the drive. I yanked it back. And in the scuffle, my phone tumbled, screen lighting up with the mirrored texts. Chad's dumped the evidence. Babe, Kenzie's expendable, blaring in emoji glory. His face drained of color. What the fuck? Guests trickled in, drawn by the raised voices. Whispers rippling like wildfire. Emily whirled on me. Venom pure.
You bitch.
After all I've. But I cut her off. Voice steady as rebar. All you've done?
Yeah. Eminência.
Like calling me a loser to your friends while I bled for your dream life. Like selling Dad's legacy for a quick buck. Like letting me die for your sins. The room froze. Tiki torches flickering judgment. Chad bolted for the door. But not before I hit send. Copies of everything to the tip line at the DA's office. CC to Gary at Deloitte for good measure. Emily sank to the tile. Mascara streaking black rivers. Sophie peeking from the hall with wide eyes. Please.
Kenzie.
Family. I knelt, close enough to smell her fear. Family doesn't bury each other alive. You made your bed.
Sis.
Now lie in it. Sirens wailed distant by midnight. Blue lights painting the lawn in accusation. Emily in cuffs. Screaming my name like a curse. Chad in the back of another cruiser. Blubbering deals. Sophie I'd fight for. Guardianship papers drawn before the cake even cooled. As the neighbors gawked from their picket fences, I stood on the porch. The Texas night wrapping cool around me. And for the first time since that bullet, I breathed free. But twists, they say, come in threes. A week later, sifting Dad's old boxes in the attic, evacuated before the feds sealed the house, I found the letter. Tucked in his Bible, yellowed and unfinished. Kenzie, if you're reading this, I know about Emily. The Oak Hill mess. I covered for her.
But it's eating me.
Forgive me, kiddo. Love always.
Covered.
Dad hadn't died of a heart attack. He'd OD'd on his nitro. Guilt too heavy to carry. Emily's secret wasn't just greed. It was the push that broke him. A whispered, handle it, Daddy. Or we're ruined. She'd orphaned us both. Long before the lake. I burned the letter in the backyard fire pit. Ashes scattering on the wind like absolution. The charges stuck, Emily. 20 years federal. Chad flipping like a bad pancake for a lesser sentence.
Sophie?
Mine now. Her tiny hand in mine as we packed for fresh start in Denver. Away from Austin's ghosts. No mansion. No handouts. Just us against the world. And as I locked the door on that chapter, I whispered to the empty air, this one's for you, Dad. No more losers.